All right, team. In your CMA studies, you're going to come across a lot of different budgeting methods. But let me tell you, none are quite as intense or as powerful as what I call the ultimate reset button. We are talking about zero-based budgeting, or ZBB for short. It's got a big reputation in management accounting for a reason. It's pretty much the most thorough way you can possibly build a financial plan from scratch. So let's break down what that really means.
Can you imagine your boss walking in and saying this to you? I mean, wow. It's a tough line, and honestly, it perfectly captures the whole philosophy behind zero-based budgeting. This isn't about making a few little tweaks here and there. Nope. It's about a complete and total justification for every single penny, starting from square one.
Okay, so what's the official definition you need to know? Well, ZBB is a method where every, and I mean every, expense has to be justified for each new budget period. You know how traditional budgeting kind of just takes last year's numbers and adds a bit? ZBB throws that whole idea out the window. It forces every single manager to start from a zero base. Every line item starts at zero, period.
And this right here is the fundamental clash of ideas. You've got traditional budgeting, which is all about incrementalism. You just take last year's numbers and make some small adjustments. But then you have ZZB, which is about pure, hardcore justification. The whole question changes. It's no longer, hey, how much more do we need this year? It becomes the much harder question. Wait a minute, why do we need this at all? Big difference.
Now, I know what you're thinking. A total reset? That sounds like absolute chaos, right? But the thing is, ZBB is actually a very structured, very methodical process. So let's walk through the 4 key steps that make this whole system tick.
So this 4-step process is basically the engine that drives ZBB. It's designed to be logical, moving from the smallest pieces of the business all the way up to the final big money decisions. Let's dig into each one and see how they build on each other.
First up, you have to identify what are called decision units. The easiest way to think about these is as the basic building blocks of the company. It could be a department, a specific project, maybe a single key activity. You have to break the entire organization down into these small, analyzable pieces before you can even think about building the budget back up.
Okay, now this step is the absolute heart and soul of ZBB. It's all about creating decision packages. For every single one of those units we just talked about, a manager has to lay out its goals, its costs, but here's the kicker, and this is the most important part. They have to spell out, in detail, the consequences of not funding it. This is where the real justification and the real pressure kicks in.
So once you've got all these decision packages built, they don't just sit on someone's desk. Senior management gets together, they take every single package from across the entire company, and they rank them. They put them in order of importance, forcing this massive, strategic conversation about what truly matters to the business right now.
And here we go. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's brutally simple. The company starts funding the projects at the top of that ranked list, number 1, number 2, number 3, and they just keep going down the list until the money runs out. So think about this. If the budget only covers the first 50 packages and your project is number 51, you get 0. Nothing. It doesn't matter if it's been funded for the past 20 years. If it doesn't make the cut, it's gone.
That sounds pretty intense, doesn't it? So you're probably asking, why on earth would any company put itself through all that pain? And that's a fair question, but all that struggle comes with some really powerful upsides.
Well, for starters, when you have to justify every single dollar, it becomes almost impossible to pad your budget with that little bit of slack or fluff. It forces managers to hunt down and get rid of wasteful spending and cut out activities that just don't add any real value. But maybe the biggest benefit of all is that it forces the company to align its money with its current strategic goals, not the goals it had 5 years ago. It's a powerful wake-up call.
But of course, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and for your CMA exam, you absolutely have to know the downsides. Trust me, the ICMA loves to test your understanding of the practical challenges of these big ideas. And those challenges are so significant that it leads to this important fact. Most companies don't do a full-blown ZBB every single year. I mean, can you imagine? Because of the massive effort involved, it's usually pulled out every 3 to 5 years as a major strategic reset, not as a normal annual thing. And here's exactly why. First, it is incredibly time-consuming and expensive. You're basically rebuilding the entire financial logic of the company from scratch. It can also be really demoralizing for managers who feel like they constantly have to fight for their department's very existence. And there's a real danger here.
It can push managers to focus only on short-term wins that look good on paper just to get a higher ranking while ignoring crucial long-term investments. Okay, so let's pull all this together for your exam prep. We're going to put everything into one final, super clear snapshot, comparing ZBB right next to that traditional approach. This is your study guide moment. If you only remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this table. It lays out the core differences perfectly. Traditional budgeting starts with last year's numbers. ZBB starts at 0. Traditional asks how much more. ZBB asks why at all. The effort level for ZBB is through the roof, and the main driver is totally different. One is driven by history, the other is driven by strategy and pure justification.
And here it is, your direct hot tip for the exam. When you're sitting there and a question pops up with phrases like justifying every expense from scratch or eliminating incrementalism, a light bulb should go off in your head. The answer is zero-based budgeting. Those are your keywords. Lock them in.
So I'll leave you with this one final thought to make this concept really stick. Just think about your own job, your own department for a second. If you absolutely had to, could you justify every single dollar that's spent, starting from a base of 0? It's a really tough question, isn't it? And that question is the very heart of ZBB. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.